Hello and welcome back to Courageously Living. I'm Tara, and this is your weekly energy forecast that is for the July 28th through August 3rd. And there's not a lot of big astrology that I'm gonna call out this week. Actually, I don't have any to call out this week. That said, there's always astrology happening, so you do want to follow some astrologers if you want kind of more of like the nitty gritty of what's going on in astrology. That said, we're gonna just do our normal transiting moons. And part of the reason that I'm not calling anything out right now is we have had so many shifts in astrologically, in just kind of the energy, that this kind of does feel like a little bit of a lull before things kind of start to ramp up again. I'm gonna say, just from my meditations, from my connecting, doing my auto writing, by the end of the week, I think we're going to start to see kind of more intensity. And you can be looking at me like, have you looked at the news? We still have a lot of intensity. Yes. And we have a lot of intensity in our personal lives too. And where we are, we're going to have, like, the intensity is going to kind of just keep building all through the rest of the summer, probably into September. But we have these little pockets of things being a little calmer so that we can kind of go into the next one. A little calmer, go into the next one. And that's kind of where we are at the beginning of this week. And then again, by the end of the week, more things, can be more intense again. And remember also that there is a lot of truths coming out collectively and in our personal lives. And sometimes we're like, yeah, we want the truth. Of course we do. And then when it comes out, we're like, oh, I didn't want that. I didn't want to see my own truth that I've been hiding from for years or weeks or even months. Like, I wasn't prepared to see that. I didn't mean that. And I will say, unfortunately, during this time, we're gonna get a lot of truths coming out, and it's not always gonna be the truth that we expected to come out. How's that? That said, you always have a choice on how you handle the truth of what is coming out. And it's okay to, especially when those truths come out for your personal life, like, it's okay to take some time to process that, to really rethink that structure. I know I've been dealing with some of that within my own life. I don't want to get too much into it right now, because I'm again still processing. At some point I will tell you more about that. But know that it really is kind of that, like, oh, here's this truth. Are you ready, and are you willing to accept it? And what I've noticed with me, with people around me, with some of my clients, is we're getting a lot of personal truths that have been buried or hidden pretty much for years for us. That is changing our perspective on ourselves and how we're moving forward. Oh, and look at what card is on the bottom. Perspective. It's changing our perspective. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take this card for our overall vibe of the week. When truths come out, they really do change our perceptions, change our belief systems, and can even change our values. And that can be unsettling. And one of the things that I do with my intentions is always say, for my highest and best good and for the betterment of all. Because I know that when truths come to the surface, even if they're not something that we were expecting, that longer term and changing our perspectives is actually what is moving us forward into a better reality for ourselves and for other people around us. Now, so this one is the one that was on the bottom, but there was also a card that flew out. Also for the week is passion. Sometimes when truths come out, we can be very passionate about what we believe is truth or what we're kind of being taken a little bit back by. And our instinct when things change like that is to almost lash out. And so really think about, are you lashing out on something that you are ready to see? Deep down, you know you're ready to see it. But initially, you're coming from a place of passion and fire and like, hey, no, not me, not that, not this. Where's your perspective? What is the bigger perspective for it? What happens when after we get through this kind of turbulent time? Was it maybe something that was ready to show up for you? That's your vibe for the week. And with that, let's get into the 28th, Monday, which is a Virgo moon. So higher vibration of Virgo is about healing. Lower vibration of Virgo is negative, self-wounding, I will say. So even when things come out and truths come out, and some of this passion and this fire could be directed at yourself, like, how come I didn't see this? If we're in the higher vibration of Virgo, it's saying, yeah, you weren't ready to see it. Now you are. It's okay to be compassionate with yourself instead of self-critical. And let's see what we got for Virgo. Solitude. Processing things that are coming to the surface. Giving yourself that time to process. And I know in this really fast-paced stuff of, oh my gosh, all of this stuff is coming out collectively, all of this stuff is coming out in my personal life, like, even if it's processing in the shower or driving to work or stuck in traffic. Stuck in traffic is probably a little safer than actually driving and moving. But where are you finding those moments that you turn off the radio, that you turn off even YouTube? Like, I know I'm on YouTube, but when are you turning off YouTube or social media and really sitting in silence, in your solitude, to be able to process everything going on? Because we've got a lot going on right now. Please don't feel like you have to have everything figured out. This is such a different time for all of us that we're not going to be able to have it figured out. We're not going to be able to control the outcome, which is really, really hard for a society that has been controlling the outcome for centuries and being controlled for centuries. Okay, so then we move into Libra, which Libra is about justice and justice for ourselves. Remember that it doesn't have to be external justice. It can be justice for ourselves. So we've got shape-shifting, submerged, and synergy. Things are definitely shape-shifting. Things that we thought were solid aren't. And what does that look like with justice for ourselves then? And things are definitely still hidden. Libra might bring out a few because Libra is scales, Libra is justice. But it's a lot of it's going to be internal as well, not necessarily in the external world, because it's all synergy. It's all what we're putting out, letting come in, letting that flow happen. And that can be really scary. And that's okay to acknowledge it. When I follow a couple people and they're doing a great job to encourage people in the comments to say, what are you feeling right now? What is your experience? What are your dreams? What is all this stuff? Because it's all new. So please feel free in the comments to connect with how you're feeling, how you're moving through this time. Because the more that we can talk about it as a community, the less scary it is for us individually. And it also feels like, oh, we're not the only ones going through this really weird time frame that we're having to let go of control. And for having structure and control so much in our lives, that can be really, really scary to let go of that and let things flow. That doesn't necessarily mean we just give up and say, oh, we're done. No, but it does mean whatever is coming in, how are we reacting to it? We get to choose how we react to it. And maybe it was something that, before you would have always jumped down, oh, this is what's being told to me, so this has to be true. And now it's like, oh, maybe it doesn't feel true in here. And what does that mean then for my own control? So really think about how you are self-validating. That's going to be a big theme. I'm going to keep talking about that. Certainly now through the end of the year, going into next year, is because we are so used to seeking external validation. External validation, even as simple as women on YouTube usually having makeup on. And I was like, you know what? That's not who I am. I put lipstick on, but I don't do the other makeup. And I'm like, that in and of itself is a different part of control from society. Society expects women to have makeup on in a lot of cases, especially if we are on YouTube. And I'm saying no. So where are you challenging the narrative in your own life? And then we go into our Scorpio moon. Scorpio moon, higher vibration of Scorpio, does love to do research, to look at the cycles of things, death, rebirth. Scorpio is attached to death. And it's about letting those things come up to the surface that no longer serve us and letting them go. So this is for August 1st and 2nd. Power and stillness. There's our power and there's our stillness. Sometimes our greatest power is being still. And it goes back to how we started the week with our solitude. Our power is our internal power. And not what we are trying to, again, it goes back to controlling the situation. What happens if we feel powerful in ourselves by being still? That can be a radical shift in mindset. Especially with the Scorpio moon, where our instinct is to lash out, especially on things that challenge our belief systems, challenge our values. Our biggest power is when we are actually still and process it and then move forward in a way that is respectful and honoring to ourselves. And we end the week in a Sagittarius moon. So what do we got for the Sag moon? Completion and creation. Again, a cycle. Full moon is an ending, creation is a beginning. We have a full moon coming up then August 9th. So we're a little early on the 3rd to kind of be talking about the full moon, but we are certainly moving toward that full moon. But again, completion so we can create something new. And in our lives, that can be really disconcerting, especially when things end that we expected to last. Whether that's a marriage, whether that's a job, whether that is all of a sudden graduating from school and going into something else. It's a completion so something new can come in. And we get to choose how we want to feel, and acknowledging the completion and acknowledging the new coming into our lives as well. That is what I have for you this week. Please, please, please make sure you give yourself a self-hug. Self-hug. We have a private side and a public side, and both sides really could use your extra support, especially as we navigate all this upheaval, all this chaos. Make sure you're giving yourself support. You're worthy. You deserve it. And I will catch you on the next video. Bye for now.